I lost some weight, but obviously it didn't work. In the long run.
Alrighty, guys, welcome into the After Schrock. I apologize it took so long to get things started here. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes to get connected while I'm going to refresh my page here so I can see comments and things like that for you as well. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a good New Year. For me, this was the first week back live, so for a lot of ways, this feels like the first show of 2022 for me. Obviously, the Thorster Dahmer show aired last week. It was a recorded program, but it feels good to be back in the chair. And of course, tons of technical problems this morning. I have a brand new camera. Woohoo! Brand new camera, better video quality, right? Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't the program didn't pick it up, and I gave myself a whole 10 minutes to get it hooked up. It's a camera, right? What do I have to do to it? Plug it in, right? Oh my God. My background is black. It looks like greeny gray. What's up with that? Got to fix that. There was a bunch of challenges this morning, but we got everything going. All right. So first of all, audio check. Can everybody hear and see me okay? Let's see. Randy, back again. Good to have you, Randy. Go back up. Mary's here. Good morning, Mary. Aaron, good to have you. Mitch. Mark, welcome aboard. Ronald, did I watch the movie? I have not watched it yet. I did receive the discs. I have not watched the movie yet. Thank you, Winston. I appreciate the audio check. A frosty hello from Pierre, South Dakota. Whew. How frosty. It's pretty cold here, too, but yeah, something tells me it might be a little colder where you are. No, I'm pretty sure the camera is not dead on arrival. It's just when I plugged it in and I tried to access any camera, it was accessing my laptop's webcam, and I was super confused because, I had this camera mounted in front of me. I'm looking at it right now. Now, my webcam is here. And this is the way we used to do the show, when I'd be talking like this, and you'd see kind of part of the ceiling up behind me, and it was kind of weird, and you kind of look up my nose a little bit. It was just weird, right? So I plug this camera in, I unplug the other camera, and I go to activate, and there's no camera. There's a background, but there's no camera. I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I go to add the camera element to the OBS studio, and it adds my local webcam instead. So I guess maybe it could be DOA. I don't know, but I'm going to find out later. The time to figure that out was not 2 minutes before the show was scheduled to start. I switched back to the old camera in a hurry. Luckily, I brought it with me. All righty. Thank you, Maureen. Indiana is wet and cold. How long is the warranty for... How long is the warranty for a 2020 desktop holiday special? Am I offered a chance to buy a warranty when it expires? Yes, you are. So all of our computers come with a 1-year parts and labor warranty. It's a no-hassle warranty, so we cover everything. Anything goes wrong with the computer, the only exceptions are physical damage. If you throw it out the window, we're not going to fix it for free. Viruses, they're preventable. Get Sophos. If you choose to use some other antivirus software and you get infected, we will not remove the viruses for free. We can remove them, but it's just not going to be free. So there are some exceptions to the warranty. Those are the only two. Otherwise, everything is covered. So yeah, and you can extend it. When your warranty expires, you should receive a phone call offering you the opportunity to extend your warranty for $125 a year. If you purchased an extended warranty previously, and, let's say you bought it in 2018 and you bought a 2-year extended warranty. Well, then your warranty just expired at the end of 2021. Well, then if you didn't use your warranty, we owe you the $200 back you paid for the warranty you purchased, and we'll refund that as a store credit back to you, basically like a gift card, and you can use that money to purchase additional warranty or to renew your Sophos or your Secure Updater or whatever you want. So whenever you're buying a computer from Schrock, it is always a good idea to buy the extended warranty. The reason being, if you don't need it, you get your money back. If you do need it, especially right now, you are very glad you have it, because you don't have to worry about the cost of parts. Availability of parts you might have to worry about, but you don't have to worry about the cost of parts at all, because we're going to replace it for you under warranty. Alrighty, let's see. I mark them as like when I've covered them, so that way it scrolls around automatically. As people leave comments, it jumps down to the newest comment, and I have to keep scrolling back up. Oh, let's see here. For about 2 weeks, I've not been able to download Drive Advisor. When I click on download, it opens up to a tab full of gibberish because you're using Firefox, and we are aware of that problem. It has been an extraordinarily low priority fix for us. We've had bigger fish to fry. But basically just use Bing or Chrome or something else, and it'll open just fine. For whatever reason, Drive Advisor is an MSI, is the type of software file you're downloading. And for whatever reason, Firefox wants to open it inside of Firefox. So that's why you're getting all the gibberish. If you open it with any other program, you'll be just fine. All right. Yep, AMD and Asus, Randy, are both releasing new chips toward the end of the year this year. So yeah, the new Zephyr line of Intel chips will be coming out as well. They're not anything super exciting, though. They're pretty much slightly faster, slightly more efficient 11th gen processors for the most part. Yeah, Aaron, I know I'm supposed to do a dry one, but I know I'm supposed to test. That'd be the right way to do it. But when you're off for 2 weeks and you're not in the studio, and then you're like, I got to do a radio show tomorrow, and I got a game of Civilization going on the laptop at that moment, and I'm just like, I could test my camera, or I could eat apple pie with my wife and hang out, and then go to bed and get up early in the morning and go, I'll just do it in the morning. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yep, and then I brought in a new Ethernet adapter as well, because the last few weeks we've been on wireless here in the studio. That's one of the reasons I think we're having so many video hiccups, is because we're transmitting wirelessly rather than wired. I'm not dropping frames, which is kind of odd, but we're getting hiccups. And that's the only thing that changed. Well, I thought it happened to be when I got the new laptop, when I got the 2021 holiday special laptop in here, that all of a sudden the wired internet stopped working. So I thought it was my adapter. I thought this adapter must not be compatible with the Asus model. Well, Asus makes their own adapters as well, and I got the Asus adapter, and I brought it in this morning and hooked it up because I kept forgetting it every week, and sure enough, no wired signal there either. So the wire coming from the wall in the studio is not working, so I got to get engineering on top of that. So we'll deal with that one too. In fact, I'm going to plug this back in before I forget to do that, so that I know I've got it for next show. So yep, it was a fun morning. We had a few technical glitches, but we moved through them expeditiously to get on the air on time. Didn't even have to play any PSAs. All right, I missed last week's show you taped and could not find it. Oh, golly, that's true, I suppose. I will get that listed on the website. The way that the system usually works is we do the main show, then I do the After Schrock. While I'm doing the After Schrock, Roger is actually uploading the Compute This show to the Sprecher audio feed and everything else. There was no video for last week's show, and because it wasn't a live show, Roger wasn't here to prep all that. And so I'm assuming it got uploaded. I will double check that. If it got uploaded, no one sent it to Sergey. So Roger sends it to me. I send it to all the other radio stations and Sergey posts it on the website. So that didn't happen. So I will look into getting that done so that you can enjoy Thorstradamus' predictions. Lord knows I'm going to need them next year when I go back to listen. Did that actually happen? What were the predictions again? I can go back and listen to it. All right. Is Apple Care Plus worth it for the iPhone 13 Pro Max? Do you drop your phone? If the answer is yes, then it's definitely worth it. Do you keep your phone in a phone case? If the answer is no, then it's definitely worth it. Do you have small children that are going to break screens and throw your phone across the room? Then the answer is yes, it's worth it. I buy Apple Care on everything I've got because I've got little kids, and little kids break stuff. Sometimes intentionally break stuff. It's been nice to have, for sure. All right. Yeah, my video keeps hiccuping too, Aaron. Nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. All righty. So, what do you all want to talk about this morning? We've got a few things going on. So, one of the things that is probably the most time sensitive is the supposed trucker apocalypse that's happening on the 15th, which is this coming Saturday on the 15th. That'll work really well. That show's going to air on the 15th in Lincoln. So I'll be like, on the 15th, like, oh my gosh, that's today. On the 15th, the vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers goes into effect. So these are truckers that are going to be crossing the Canadian border. Canadian truckers coming into the U.S. and U.S. truckers going into Canada must be vaccinated to cross the border. It's estimated that about 80% of Canadian truckers are vaccinated, and about 60% of American truckers are vaccinated. So from what I'm hearing from my trucker friends, this market is nuts. Like there's work everywhere, and everyone's trying to hire drivers from everybody else. If all of a sudden the stuff that's crossing the border can't be trucked by unvaccinated truckers, and we're talking about a 60% reduction in the stuff going to and from the border, or excuse me, a 40% reduction in stuff going across the border as a result, what impact will that have on the supply chain? Well, our supply of maple syrup is definitely threatened here. The maple syrup reserve is actually in Canada, and we got to make sure we get our maple syrup. So if you enjoy maple syrup, you may want to buy an extra bottle. I have heard everything from it's not a big deal because logistically that just means the person driving across the border is going to park the truck somewhere and like switch it out. Basically, they're going to move the trailer to another truck and have a filthy unvaxxed trucker truck it the rest of the way. All the way to this is the apocalypse we've been waiting for. The store shelves are going to be completely empty, and you're totally screwed. I think the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle. People are smart, or persons are smart. People are stupid, but persons are smart, and persons will decide to find ways to get stuff to stores. It may not get there as fast as we would like. There may be times, for example, right now, you can't buy lime Tostitos at any Hy-Vee in Omaha. My 3-year-old little boy loves those lime Tostitos. Walmart supposedly has them in stock, so we're going to make a trip to Wally World later and see if they have any lime Tostitos. But you can't get them at Hy-Vee. Why is that? Is it because Hy-Vee is off the beaten path or anything? No, it's just whoever's doing the ordering is not anticipating the amount of chips they need to order, or they're being artificially limited because, Walmart's Walmart, they have a bigger distribution network than Hy-Vee. That could be. Speaking of Hy-Vee, if you haven't taken a moment, if you like to go to the movies, there's a story called American Underdog. It's a movie about Kurt Warner. His story of coming up basically through the Iowa Barnstormers and going into the NFL and winning a Super Bowl. It's a little hallmarky at times, admittedly, but it was a really good story. It was so good that the lovely Kimberly at one point cheered during the movie. Like when he scored a touchdown, she's like, "Sorry, you can take the mom out of the football game, but you can't take the football mom out of the mom." We all cheered. So it was funny, but basically it was a really, really good inspirational movie, just outstanding. So anyway, great plug there for a movie if you're looking for something to go see. And you're not interested in seeing any of the weird stuff that's out right now. So I don't know. If any of you out there are truckers that are watching, or maybe you have a trucker in the family, especially a cross-border trucker, I would love to hear from an actual person who drives the truck how this is going to impact the industry that you work in. Because maybe from them we can all figure out how it's going to impact our individual lives. Because nothing makes sense right now. Every model that I've been introduced to in my life doesn't make sense. So we have inflation, right? Price of everything is going up. The price of crypto is going down. Everywhere. We have inflation. The price of everything is going up. The price of housing is going down. Houses are getting cheaper. My wife and I have kind of been on the hunt for the last year. We've been learning the market, kind of feeling the trends out. We're not ready to move yet. I don't want any calls from realtors. We're not ready to do anything yet, but we've been watching the market, and we're noticing a lot more price cuts. We're noticing houses staying on the market longer. Now, the market that we're looking at is not a starter level home. We're looking for a 6,000 or 5,000 square foot home here. So they don't come up every day. That's why we look a lot. And when they do come up, they don't tend to sell immediately. They're jumbo mortgages, basically. You either have the money to buy them, or you have to get a giant mortgage from some company and pay a ton for it. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, we're noticing the prices of houses, they're either staying on the market longer, or they're coming down in price, or the prices that they're selling for are lower than all-time highs. I'm not saying they're cheap. They're coming down. They're getting cheaper. Crypto is off like 40% off its high. Like, that's huge. Even for crypto, this is starting to get to the point now where people are like, what is going on here? The Fed says they're going to start fixing things. They're going to start tightening. They're going to reduce quantitative easing, which is hilarious. They're going to reduce the amount of money they're printing every month. They're not going to stop printing money or get rid of some of the money they printed every month. They're just going to start injecting less every month. That's like me saying, I need to lose the 10 pounds I put on over Christmas. So starting today, I am going to eat 1 cookie less every day until I'm only eating 3 cookies a day. It's going to take like 6 months, right? I eat a lot of cookies. It does. You're gonna be a fat bastard if you do that. So realistically, what I'm hearing from economists is we need to stop QE, like end it, like we should have ended it during Trump's years. It should definitely be over now, and interest rates need to go up to at least 3% in one move. That would be the start to combating the inflation that we're up against, because the Fed is reactionary. The Fed is always reacting to what it's seeing in data, and that data is always at least a month old. So whatever the Fed is looking at, they're usually a quarter behind the curve. So there's a lot of people who think we're in a recession right now. There's a lot of people that are pretty confident if the Fed does those things that need to be done to battle that inflation, that'll put us into a depression. When you're used to free money and all of a sudden money costs 3 or 4 or 5 or 6%, keep in mind if you have a credit card, that doesn't mean you're going to have a 3% interest rate. It means you're going to have 26% plus prime, which would be 29%. So everything gets more expensive because interest goes up, money is is more expensive. So stores that have lines of credit to buy their fall line of clothes to put on the shelves, and they pay off that line of credit through the sales of the clothes, that credit is going to cost them more, which means the clothes have to cost more. So basically, we're in this really weird situation right now where the price of everyday goods is going up and the price of hard assets is coming down. Meanwhile, there's huge inflation happening. Some have said even as much as 11% a year right now. So if you hold on to your money, let's just say to keep the numbers easy, you'll lose 10% of it. If you make 40 grand a year, you're losing $4,000 of your money. If you put it in the bank and don't spend it, you lose $4,000. If you buy stocks, well, you're getting your teeth kicked in right now unless you're a real good stock picker. There are some that are up, but if you're looking at your 401k, you're down. If you're in crypto, doesn't matter what you bought, you're down. If you decide to buy a house, well, those values are starting to slide a little bit. Not 10%, but they're starting to slide. So what do? Well, you can put your money into bonds, I guess. But if tomorrow's bonds are going to pay 3% interest, who's going to want today's bonds that pays like 1% interest or whatever? I mean, I'm not a bond trader. I don't know. I understand how yield works in relation to bond sales, but it seems to me that there's actually nothing safe right now. The price of gold hasn't moved. It's still at $1,800 an ounce, despite 11% interest, or 10% interest is what we're talking about, 10%. Shouldn't the price of gold have gone up $180? Why didn't it? Manipulation, man. Okay, manipulation. How is it they were able to manipulate? It blows my mind. It's like there is no safe place to. There's no safe place to put your money. There is no place to put your money that's not going to result in a 10% loss right now. It's pretty much pick your poison. Where do you want to go? I had some guys that attended a call with me on some liquidity mining, and they're like, earlier in the month, they're like, hey Thor, what? We're losing money, and I'm like, hey, I'm losing money too. I had a huge gain, and then I reallocated some stuff, and I had a little pop again, and now it's just every day. It was $1,000 down today, $1,000 down today, $1,000 up, $2,000 down, $1,000 up, $2,000 down, and it was just this compression, just chomping money. Well, I can pull it all out and go to cash, and guaranteed to lose 10% there. But I've lost 40% by staying in crypto, so maybe I should go to cash until the crypto thing shakes out and then jump back into crypto. But now I'm trying to time a bottom, which is definitely hard to do. Thought the bottom was 42,000. Well, we blew that away. or what, 41 something? I don't have my phone with me right now. So last I looked, it was 41.9, something like that. So I'm following my own advice. I bought back into Bitcoin. I said at 42 I would be a buyer. So I bought back in. We'll see if it goes to 30. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it goes back up, because I'm just thinking, of all the things, the money supply is getting tighter, so the dollar is becoming more valuable, but it's also becoming less valuable at the same time. What is this? And I'm like, what is going on? Have we ever seen anything like this? The answer is no. Economically, we have never seen anything like this, or at least that's what the economists I could find on the internet were saying, that economically we have a situation of high inflation with falling asset prices at the same time. And that, historically, those two things tend to be opposite. So something is cattywampus, and we don't know what it is. Something's broken. And it's either the asset values are way too high in a bubble, and they're going to pop and come way down, or inflation is artificially high, and it is transitory, like everyone's been saying in the Fed, and it's going to go away once the supply chain stuff works out. But then if you look at the same time at the unemployment numbers are great. So you can't even say it's stagflation, because unemployment numbers are great. But then if you look at the unemployment numbers, you look at the workforce participation, and you realize there's a lot of people not working. And why are they not working? Let's look at family incomes. A lot of people have said, well, it's because of all the stimulus money, that people paid down a lot of debt. They got all those debt service payments out of the way. They saw what the schools were teaching their kids. They decided they wanted to become a one-income family again, leave someone home with the kids to do homeschool, and then go. And I'm sure there was some of that happening. As a result now, the stimulus money is gone. People have spent it. Credit card debt hit an all-time high last month. So not only have consumers spent through their stimmies, but they're racking up their credit card debt again. So this can't go, if that's the case, it can't go on forever. People are just going to get indebted again if they keep spending like this, and then back into the workforce they go to, because they have to get a job to pay the debt. Or, there was a weird report out of an Indiana actuary company that said in 2021, overall death rate in the United States was up 40% over previous year. So 2021 was up 40% over 2020, the year we had a crazy Chinese pandemic hit the world and kill a bunch of people. All the people that died in nursing homes and all that stuff that normally wouldn't have died in a nursing home. 2021, we had 40% more people die. Oh, and the people that died aren't people in nursing homes in 2021. In 2021, it was people between the ages of 18 and 64. So it's your working age population dying at a 40% higher rate than normal. Now, statistics, show me a statistic, I'll show you a lie, right? So statistics lie. What's 40% up over normal, right? It's not like 40% of the world died. It's a 40% increase in the death rate. If you look at it statistically, a 10% increase in the death rate would be like a huge standard deviation from the norm. There would be some kind of event that happened with it, a giant earthquake or a tsunami or something that caused that. A 40% increase is literally inconceivable. It's been happening for 2 quarters now, actuaries are saying. Additionally, over those 2 quarters, the first quarter that they were measuring in this study showed a huge increase in short-term disability. Now they're showing that those people in the following quarter have been transitioned into long-term disability. So where do all the workers go? Why is our workforce participation level so low? Could it be that some of them are dead or disabled or prevented from working by mandate, or there's any number of things? So yes, the unemployment rate is crazy low. At the same time, though, employers can't hire people. So you're seeing the jobs report came in with 199,000 jobs, well below expectations. Is it below expectations because employers don't want to hire, or is it below expectations because employers can't hire at any price? Nobody knows. Something is broken under the hood. Nobody knows what it is right now. So it makes it very, very difficult as a business owner to kind of plan, should we borrow a bunch of money right now and buy a bunch of stuff with that money? Is the stuff going to be more expensive later than it is now? Is the money going to be more expensive later than it is now? Um, inflation, right? In an inflationary environment, it's really good to have debt that you can service anyway, because every year you have 10% inflation, your debt becomes 10% cheaper to pay off. Yay, right? You got your student loan debt, minimum payments, baby. So I don't know. It's something I wish I could tell you guys what to do. I wish I had any idea what to do myself here. I'm trying to hedge. You know, I've got some crypto. I've got a 401k. I've got some in cash. I've got some gold and silver. We own our home. We're looking at buying another home at some point, or a different home. Not another one. I don't need two. One's enough. I've got children, so if it all falls through, maybe they can grow up and support me in retirement. I don't know. I'm trying to hedge as best I can to figure out one of these things is going to be a winner, hopefully, and some of these things are going to be losers, and the hope is that the winners outweigh the losers at the end. Increasingly, I'm like, where do you go? Where do you hide? Where do you look for yield? Right now, things are crazy. Crypto is usually crazy the first quarter. Crypto is usually down in the first quarter. Yesterday, the price of crypto was exactly the same as it was a year ago. Exactly the same at one moment. So year over year was a 0% gain in crypto. So it feels like we're losing our shirts in crypto, right? Well, year over year, if you were a long-term holder, you know, you're exactly where you were a year ago, which isn't encouraging. You didn't grow, but you know, it is what it is. Some people, if you dollar cost average, bought in at those higher prices. Excuse me. Oh, more coffee. Early morning catching up with me. So I guess long story short, guys, if there's any truckers in the audience, I'd love to hear from you. If there's any economists in the audience, if Dr. Goss is available, if you could tell me what to do, I'd really appreciate it because I am super confused. Every article that I read seems to be saying something different, and the articles, when all put together, do not make a picture that is possible. Unless it's like apocalyptic end of times financially, and literally everything is down and is going down, and there is no safe haven, and you're just going to take your lumps, and you better just continue producing, kind of thing. That sounds great as long as you're not retired, right? I mean, what's going on? So I'd love to have some insight to help me understand what's going on because I don't like uncertainty. All right. My holiday special desktop order status says waiting for pickup. It should be sent to me. Is there something I need to do? Let me look into this, Ralph. If it says waiting for pickup, I wonder if there was a disconnect and they didn't know they were supposed to mail it. So let me send an email. I'm going to send an email on that right now, actually, so I don't forget. It could also be, Ralph, that they finished it. I know there was 2 or 3 that were built in the last day or so. It could be finished and waiting to be picked up. And that would be waiting to go. We don't have a tracking number yet. That would be just waiting for pickup as well. But let me, I'm going to send an email to make sure that we got cover on that, Ralph. All right. All right, sorry about that. This is exciting watching me type. All right. Pillion support. All right, there we go. Good to go. So, Ralph, we'll look into that for you and get back to you on that one here pretty quickly. Sorry about the confusion on that. Wally World didn't have any celery. For real? They didn't have any celery? I mean, it was celery and potatoes are 2 of the things that were supposed to be... well, they're all trucked and they're all heavy. And so as a result, the prices are going to go up and there are availability concerns. Has anyone else noticed lately that quality of produce has been less than normal? Kind of interesting. Lime Tostitos. Aaron, I would just start naming foods off and then all of a sudden you're going to want them all, right? I have not received my truck yet. It was kind of funny. We ordered a little junker car. Well, I shouldn't say a junker car. We ordered a little car, the cheapest car you can buy from Ford, which used to be $16,000 2 years ago, which is now $24,000. Cheapest car you can buy. It's literally to pick up and drop off things. We put it in the service center. These teenage boys just trash the interiors in these things. It's awful. We get them detailed once a year, and it's like one of those like hoarders or buried alive, like what happened to the inside of this car kind of thing. So anyway, the dealership Baxter calls me, Thor, good news, man. Your truck is on the way. It's on a truck and on the way right now. Yes, my truck is coming. This is awesome. Oh, wait. Sorry, I meant your car. Let me check on the status of that truck for you again. Oh, Thor, you're beta in the build list, so that means that you're the next one to get built. Yeah, always the next one to get built. Means nothing to know you're the next one to get built if they can't get parts, right? So I don't have my truck yet. It will come soon. It's going to be a 2022 now, though. Kind of nice. Alrighty. A year ago, we had a great economy. We were energy independent. Yeah. It's it's interesting. Again, trying to keep the politics out of it for the sake of clarity, right? Rather than trying to assign blame to somebody or try to. I don't think any one person caused this problem. I think the problem has been caused by the Fed year after year after year, pumping free money into an economy to stem a collapse where it needed a collapse. And every time you don't let it collapse, it becomes more morbidly obese. That the collapse later is just going to shake the house even harder. And they're not going to let it collapse until they can't stop it from collapsing. So yeah, there was a great economy. Trump had a great economy going. Everything was going great. Trump was pressuring the Fed, if you remember, to keep interest rates low. He was really raking Jay Powell over the coals, saying that our rates were too high because we weren't being competitive with the rest of the world who were net negative on their rates. And so it was too expensive to borrow money, and we need lower debt service. I remember Trump saying things during the campaign like he could pay off the national debt in 4 years if you let him, like those kind of things. So I don't think there were definitely policies that were enacted under the Trump administration that were helpful to the economy. The energy policies were definitely helpful because regardless of where you get your energy from, everything takes energy to create and move. Everything does. And, the wind didn't blow in Texas this week, and they're blaming natural gas again. It's, we need lots of different sources of fuel. The EU is about to declare that nuclear energy is a green energy because they're coming to realize that solar and wind just can't do it on its own. And they need that reliable go-to option that you just don't get with ecological renewables. Sometimes the wind doesn't blow, and sometimes the sun doesn't shine. And if you happen to get a day where there's no wind and no sun at the same day, where your country just doesn't have lights that day, I mean, governments are starting to realize that, it's been said that there's polling that's been done, and I heard the results of the polling. I don't know who did the polling. I don't know how accurate it is, that Americans are willing to spend about $100 a year to be more ecologically friendly, to be greener. The transition to renewables by 2050, which is the goal, the UN has come out and figured out, they broke it down, like what has to happen to individual people's budgets. The result is the average American needs to spend $5,000 more per year to hit the goal of 2050. Because we're trying to force a square peg in a round hole. The economics are not there yet. The technology is not there yet. Whereas we have other technologies like carbon capture technology that can actually prevent carbon from entering the atmosphere. So if your true concern is carbon entering the atmosphere, it's not a political concern or a control concern or all these other things that factor into it, but an actual ecological concern, we can burn natural gas and create far less carbon than we're creating by getting rid of natural gas and being forced to burn coal instead. That's what's happening right now. So anyway, there's a lot of things that were changed. I don't know that. I think this would, the vaccine was a Trump thing. I'm surprised that the Biden administration hasn't started calling it the Trump vaccine yet. At some point, you just gotta. Even Dr. Fauci is saying now it doesn't appear that the vaccine is stopping Omicron. Because it's not. My vaxxed employees are dropping. I mean, they get it. It's like a cold, and then they come back. Maybe for somebody who's medically compromised, it would be a bigger deal. Maybe for somebody who is older, it would be a bigger deal. But for most younger people, it's just a cold right now, the Omicron variant. Now, maybe the earlier Wuhan variant was like wicked different. I saw videos of people literally collapsing in the street, walking around in China, and they just fall over dead. I saw those videos. So yeah, it was a real thing. I'm not saying that it's not real. It's just that I don't know that the vaccine is as effective as it used to be. I don't think getting more shots of the same vaccine is really going to make a big difference because it's not as effective as it used to be. I'm not a doctor. I don't know jack about jack. All I know is that vaccinated people are getting sick. And so we're going to load additional burdens on an already burdened economy because people aren't vaccinated. Meanwhile, we lost two 25-year-old soccer players this week. I don't know if you heard about this. They both dropped dead of heart attacks on soccer fields. Completely coincidental, I'm sure. There's also a 40% increase in the death rate of working age population as measured by the actuaries of the insurance company that specifically represents companies with 100 or more employees. I'm not saying that the duck is a duck, but I'm just saying if you take all these stories and put them together, it tends to paint a picture. Now, if I do the same thing with the economic stuff and put it together, I have no idea. It's like the duck splatter walked the wall or something. Like, I have no idea what that picture is. But I do know that if you keep burdening and burdening and burdening, it's not going to make it better, right? Fewer burdens make things easier. And that's why somebody asked earlier in the last broadcast, why is 2022 going to be the most challenging year? Guys, I have to tell you, it is exhausting doing what we do. Like, I am actually tired. Like, I need a vacation, guys. I can't go anywhere. Not that I won't want to go anywhere. I'm going to go somewhere and wear a mask the whole time I'm there. I don't want to do that. I could go to Florida, I guess. Everyone's going to Florida, though. Even AOC went to Florida. Nancy Pelosi's moving to Florida. I don't want to go to Florida. I guess I go to Florida, I guess. But all joking aside, all political joking aside, it is so hard to know that you need 30 of something and you can order 3. And somehow, with some Jesus-level magic, you're going to make those 3 loaves of bread into 30 loaves. Somehow, you're going to make it happen. But you have no idea how you're going to do it. And you're going to lay there awake at night trying to think about how you're going to do it. Now, obviously, I'm not laying awake thinking about computer cases, but there are tons. The ramifications are everywhere. How much money do we need to set aside as a company? What happens if the price of everything goes to the point where we have to raise our prices and then we sell fewer computers as a result, which lowers our cash flow? What do we need to survive that? How does this impact our plans to start doing the computer leasing program this quarter? Should we still do that? Does it make sense for us to dramatically increase the number of things we're selling when we're having trouble getting things? Are we going to create an expectation among our customers that we can't fulfill? Would it be better to put that expectation off another quarter? Really don't want to do that. So should I build the stuff ahead? If I buy it now, I'm paying 30% over normal market price. There's a chance, and then what ends up happening is a boat comes in, and the market gets flooded with inventory, and the prices tick down a little bit, maybe 10% lower. And then as that inventory disappears, which everyone is starved for it, so it disappears quickly, as it gets lower, the price starts climbing back up again to that 30% over retail. By normal retail, I'm defining normal retail as 2020 prices, middle pandemic year, so not like 2021 shortage prices, but 30% over what they were in 2020. If I buy everything now at one time and force everything, I pay 30% more. If I'm strategic and constant and vigilant, I can get it for maybe 20% more than we used to pay for it. Well, that 10% is the difference between us raising our prices and not raising our prices right now. Because we're at that point where we can't take any more cuts. The price of labor is through the roof. and the price of everything is going up. Rents went up. Insurance is going up. Apparently, policies are getting more expensive because people are dying, apparently. Who knew? Everything is going up. And they want to raise the taxes more. And it's just like, at some point, something's got to give. At some point, you just have to say, this isn't worth it. Or this, we got to stop doing this, or we have to charge more for it. And we know if we raise our prices, we're going to price some of our customers out. We know that's going to happen. So that's why we haven't done it. Because we have long-term relationships with these people, we don't want to price them out. But if this doesn't resolve itself, or heaven forbid, if it gets worse, we're not impervious. We're a business like anybody else. And, we can choose to not raise our prices and then go out of business, or we can do things like other businesses have done. We can cut our hours. We can cut back to only being open till 6 o'clock instead of 8 every day. We could close on Sundays, save a bunch of labor there. We could... I went into the Des Moines Service Center, and I got in there, and it was 55 degrees. And I'm like, hey, Parker, you were here yesterday. Was it cold in here yesterday? Because I turned the heater on up front, and it didn't turn on. And I thought, this is weird. And we just had them serviced, and they were both fine. And he goes, yeah, it was cold as heck in there. He didn't say heck. He said it was cold as heck in there. And I'm like, okay. So then there's a second unit in the back. Both of the units were set to air conditioning mode. I'm like, no one's turned the heat on this year yet? So I turned the heat on in the back. It took all day for it to get up to normal temperatures. So we could save money by keeping the heat off and having you like where your park is while you shop. That's what Walmart's doing. Have you noticed that if you've been into a Walmart? Is it all Walmarts or just the ones in mine area that are like unreasonably cold? Like you wear your coat while you shop. Your nose gets cold because it's cold in there. Like they're just not turning the heat on. I don't know. Or maybe they are and it's just really, really low. I don't know. If you were working there, all the employees are wearing long sleeves underneath their vests and stuff, and they're hustling and moving freight, so I don't know. So anyway, I forget that I was going somewhere. Somebody asked me what I thought was going to be tougher about 2022. So it's definitely takes a piece of your soul as a purchasing person to deal with buying inventory in an environment like this. And we're doing our best to be as scrappy and adaptive as we can. We're ordering different things to try out, trying to go in different directions. We put off producing a catalog because we weren't sure what our computers are going to look like. Well, now we just know they're not going to look like whatever we put in the catalog. So we're going to put something in the catalog and we're going to say, image subject to change based on availability. That's all we can do. So yeah, the specs won't change, but the product image might, kind of thing. Let's see. Suicide rate for younger people. Yeah, that could definitely be part of it. A lot of people are really bent out of shape about the pandemic and the quarantines and the restriction. They're saying that a lot of the kids that were born during the pandemic have developmental delays by a lot, and developmental delays. I have a developmentally delayed child. I know how absolutely devastating that can be when your kid doesn't talk until they're 7. When you think you did something wrong and you're trying to figure out what you did wrong, and it turns out it wasn't anything you did wrong. And then you have all the genetics run and the genetics come back fine. You find out it was something environmental. Well, what's environmentally different from what your other kids got? Well, I tend to be a little bit, I don't know, sticky when it comes to vaccine stuff because we have a vaccine injured kid. So yeah, I don't just blindly trust. She has neural encephalopathy, which is the side effect of every vaccine ever made. One of the side effects is neural encephalopathy. Very low percentage of people get it. 1 in 10,000 or something. It's almost not worth mentioning unless you get that one kid. Then it's very worth mentioning. So, I apologize. Sometimes I get sidetracked on the vaccine stuff, and I really try not to because I know it's really divisive, and I don't want to be divisive. I want to be inclusive so that we can come to some kind of an understanding as a group of people how things are supposed to be. Does it make sense that cross-border guys need to be vaccinated? Do we need to really cut 40% of our trucking across the Canadian border because it's not... So give them a testing option, people say. Okay, so you're a trucker. You're driving along. and you decide for whatever reason to take a rapid test in the cab of your truck that day. Maybe it's because you have to take your weekly test because you're not vaccinated, whatever it is, daily test, I don't know. You take your test, oh boy, it's positive. Well, that's a quick test. They're notoriously unreliable. That's why you have to take them every 5 hours. So then you go to get a PCR test. So you have to find a quick care or an urgent care or someplace to go get a PCR test. You're driving a big rig. Merp, merp. You pull into the grocery store parking lot, park way at the back of the lot, go into the quick care, they swab your nose, you come back positive. Now you're supposed to quarantine for 5 days. Are you just going to sit in your truck for 5 days? Is that truck going to just not move for 5 days? Is that where the Schrock car is that was coming from Oregon the week before Christmas that hasn't arrived yet? Is the driver quarantining somewhere along the way for 5 days at a hotel? Can you quarantine at a hotel? Are you infecting other people at the hotel? How do you get home to quarantine? So realistically, a testing regimen, if you get sick while you're cross-country trucking, guess what? You got to finish the run before you go home because you're not home. You're physically not home, and you're physically in your truck, and your truck is here, and your home is there. You got to get the truck back there, but before you do that, you have to drop your load. So the problem becomes then, Omicron is less deadly for sure. It's very contagious. So the challenge here is, even if people don't quarantine for 5 days, even if people just follow the basic advice of don't go to work when you're sick, like when you're symptomatically sick, okay, when you don't feel good. If 40% or 50% of the population gets Omicron in the next 2 weeks, wow, that's a lot of shortage for 2 weeks. A lot of businesses won't have employees to be open that day. What was that? My wife and I tried to go to Blue Sushi, like last Thursday or something. It was like we were going to go out for lunch. I was going to leave work. We're going to go have a nice lunch together without the kids and everything. Just go have a nice lunch. We show up at Blue. We don't have a reservation because it's just lunch, right? We show up at Blue at like 11:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. So relatively early for the lunch rush. There's a 40-minute wait. Yet when we look in the door, the entire bar is empty. I'm like, can we just seat ourselves at the bar and eat at the bar? And they're like, no, we're not serving at the bar today. Why? Why would that be? What are the possible reasons why you would eliminate half of the seating in your restaurant and just say you're not serving that area today? Well, it's got to be servers, I would think. You don't have any servers. You don't have enough waitresses and waiters. So rather than deliver bad service to everybody, you reduce the number of people who can enter your establishment and experience the bad service. It's called a shortage, a labor-induced shortage. It's what we would have had in Des Moines this last week. Schrock would have had that. We would have had to close the Des Moines shop for 3 days if it wasn't myself taking a shift, Parker taking a shift, and Brian taking a shift, iron manning the store by ourselves 1 day each, just so we could keep it open. So many customers came in that day I was there. Like I said, I sold out of printers of all the stupid things, sold a computer, took in 4 computers for repair, and had 3 customers pick up computers. And that was just one shift. It was like a Wednesday afternoon. It wasn't... I felt very busy because of the phones and everything else coming at me. I got home, my wife was like, how was your day? I was like, oh, it was so busy. She goes, well, what happened? I was like, I had 4 people pick up computers and 4 people drop off computers, and I had like 7 phone calls, and my wife just looks at me like, wow, it sounds like you were 8 hours busy. And I'm like, when you say it out loud, it doesn't sound as good, but when you're on the phone while you're repairing computers and a customer comes in the front door while these things, it feels more intense, right? So anyway, there's been a lot of talk about Georgia decertifying the 2020 results. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And if it does happen, I don't think it's going to mean anything. They can decertify all they want. They're not... What would we even want to have happen then? Like, does Trump become president all of a sudden? And then that's his second term and he can't run again? Wow, imagine they decertify those votes like, 3 years and 360 days into Biden's term, Trump gets in there for 5 whole days and he's done. Or constitutionally, there is no provision for electing the wrong guy accidentally. So if we assume the president was never elected at all, does Nancy Pelosi become president? I mean, there's not a... Yeah. At this point, I think the best thing that we can hope for from all of the election decertifying, inspecting, vote counting things is understanding how the system was manipulated, if it was manipulated, and understanding how people cheated if there was cheating, so that we can stop it from happening in the future. I think that's really going to be the only thing that we can do at this point, unfortunately. Walmart was out of cucumbers last week? Screwed up the pasta? When you decide to get out of Bitcoin because of falling prices, there will be a bottom, and I will buy more at that time. Yeah, Richard, I hear you. I'm a long-term holder, though, so I'm never going to be out. But I am selling new Bitcoin that I mine at this point. So as my mines generate Bitcoin, I am selling it at whatever the current market price is, dollar cost averaging in the falling knife. Yes, I know I'm going to be losing money over the long term, but I also know that I need to purchase miners this year. My mine has several defective units in it that need to be replaced. And the ones that, and there are new miners coming that are 40% more efficient than the miners are selling today. Miners cost about $10,000 to $13,000 a piece, depending on the one you get, plus 25% tariff. When the price of Bitcoin falls, the price of miners falls. So if I sell Bitcoin right now for stable currency, like stablecoin, when the price of Bitcoin, should it fall to $30,000, the cost of the miners will fall, and I will be able to use the stablecoin that I acquired by selling Bitcoin at a higher price to purchase miners, which will in turn generate more Bitcoin as the price recovers. So there's a lot of different ways to play it, but I'm definitely a long-term holder. I have some Bitcoin that I probably will never sell. I have some Bitcoin. I mean, I shouldn't say never. If it goes to $1 million a coin, and assuming $1 million is still $1 million, it's not like, a Big Mac is $1 million, and I go, oh, it's a Bitcoin. Here you go. Assuming it becomes some ridiculous amount of money, around 130,000, I'm seriously questioning my sanity if I don't sell. If it hits 130,000 this year, I think I would sell at that point and then look to buy back in on a dip and just pocket some profits. Alrighty. Because the vaccine was never designed to keep you from getting the virus, that's one of the problems, though, Keith. The vaccine was designed to stop you from getting the virus. That's what makes a vaccine a vaccine. Otherwise, it's a therapeutic. It's not a vaccine. So, I mean, that's not what they told us in the beginning. They told us to get vaccinated so we didn't get sick. And then when people started getting breakthrough infections, they said it'll reduce the severity of your illness. And then when people were dying with coronavirus, even though they were vaccinated, they just the goalposts keep moving. They just keep moving, and reasonable people can disagree, and reasonable people can say, I'm vaccinated because it's important to me, or I'm not vaccinated because it's important to me. And I don't have any animosity toward anybody for being vaccinated or not being vaccinated. Most of my employees are vaccinated. They chose to get vaccinated. Most of them are under the age of 25, and they chose to get vaccinated. That's their choice. They can do that. They're getting sick at the same rates, although the ones that test for Omicron tend to be vaccinated, and the ones that just call in sick because they have a cold and test negative for Omicron tend to be unvaccinated. So, yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I've heard all the conspiracy theories, and I'm not really in a point where I want to engage into any of them. There's no point. The truth is going to be undeniably apparent at some point in the future. At some point in the future, we will undeniably know if there was election fraud. At some point in the future, we will undeniably know if the vaccines actually reduce the severity of your illness or prevent you from being hospitalized. At some point, we will know whether or not the supply chain, whether inflation was transitory. Time is going to reveal all of this stuff to us. I'm just trying to be patient enough to get there, because sometimes I'm not Mr. Patience Man, sometimes it's tough. Ron says, I had the virus about a week ago, lasted 4 days, nothing more than a headache and a cold feeling. Yeah, that's a lot of people with Omicron are reporting that. I'm unvaccinated, and I got Delta. And I won't lie to you. I mean, it kicked my butt. I was on the couch for a couple days. But typically, that's my response. When I start to get sick, I go to sleep. Like I said, I'm gonna go take a nap, and I wake up sometimes after a 3-hour nap, sometimes after a day, and I'm good to go, ready to go back to work. And it really makes my wife upset because when she gets sick, she's sick for like a week. This was not that. I did not eat. I did not want to drink. I had no, just the, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you don't want to do anything. Just lethargic. Not tired, but like, I don't give a about anything. Like, oh, customer didn't get their computer? Pfft, not my problem. I'm sick. I don't care. You know, literally and uncharacteristically in that way. Oh, kid's diaper needs to be changed? Pfft, I don't care. I'm not doing it. Change your own diaper, kid. You know, literally it was weird like that. Like it had this depressing feeling on everything. You had no motivation to do anything, even things that you really had to do. You really, really, really just didn't want to do them. It was like that for me anyway. Let's see. The Walmart in Colorado is cold. Yeah, I don't know what it's like. They got a memo like turn the heat down to 58. I don't know. I mean, it's like wear a coat in the Walmart cold. All right. You was using Firefox, worked fine in Chrome as you said it would. Awesome. So Drive Advisor is working good for you now. That's what we want to hear there. Yeah, Aaron, I don't know if you have coronavirus at some point, if you test positive for 6 months afterward. I don't know. At this point, it's like my employees are like, I don't feel good. Should I get tested? And I'm like, what's the point? If you don't feel good. Okay, on one hand, eventually, and I told my managers this in the meeting, eventually, and I'm not saying that eventually is today, because I don't think it's today, but eventually, we're going to get back to that place where if you don't feel good, if you got a little fever, little sniffles, you take some medicine, you cowboy up, and you go to work. Gen X are talking, you go to work. You go to work. Always. You do what you got to do. You go to work. Which is why it was really weird when I had coronavirus that I was like, I don't care about it. You know, because it's like, normally I'd be like bucking to get off that couch or get out of that bed and get to work. Or trying to work from my desk at home and doing what I could do at least. Or trying to order parts or shopping for things. Or say, you know, literally I didn't want to read the news. I didn't want to do the radio show. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want any kids around me. I want nothing. Like, I didn't care. I was completely ambivalent toward everything. It was just really weird for me. Really weird. Yeah, Keith says Omicron is more contagious but less dangerous. It is, but the other problem that you have, though, realistically, it's possible. This is where things get squirrely. When people start talking and not listening, it's possible for Omicron to be less dangerous, but Omicron hospitalizations to cause a shortage of hospital beds and a healthcare crisis. The reason is everyone's getting infected more quickly. So if only 1 in 1,000 cases ends up being hospitalized, if you infect 1 million people in a 2-week period in a small community, you're going to blow up a hospital system. So it's possible that everyone can be right here, that we can have overwhelmed hospitals at the same time that we have, like the CDC has made several changes for healthcare workers. Number one, you no longer have to don PPP gear to provide CPR to a COVID positive patient. Number two, if you are COVID positive but not symptomatic, you are encouraged to come to work. What? That's how short they are. So, I mean, but yet the unvaccinated people are still fired. So like I said, the two stories, you put them together, they just don't make sense. It's like somebody's running the ship. Like there's more than one person running the ship and nobody knows what the other people are doing. That was one of the things that I think, of all the things you could say about, what went well during Trump or bad under Biden or anything, Trump was more of a ship's captain. So he was gruff, blunt, unarticulate at times, but you always knew what he wanted, and you always knew the direction you were heading. There was always clarity of purpose, right? But with Joe Biden, a lot of that clarity seems to be missing. Like, and I'm not making any mental acuity jokes here or anything. What I'm saying is, it seems like there's more than one person making policy decisions, and nobody is minding the ship. Do you think that Trump's transportation secretary would have taken 2 months of paternity leave in the middle of a shipping crisis? Do you think he would have been there the week after that? No, it wouldn't have happened. It's just, it seems to me that Trump would be the guy that'd be like, okay, we have a lot of people crossing the border right now. Yes, we need to do something about that. But first of all, because our policy is that everyone needs to be vaccinated, all the people crossing the border are going to be vaccinated, whether they want to be or not. Maybe some of them wouldn't cross the border. I don't know. But we'd be vaccinating them, right? Because vaccinating people is important, right? But we're not. But it is. So who's running the ship? Like, I don't understand. So that was one of the things. I'm not saying that anything in government makes complete sense, because nothing in government makes complete sense. But there's a lot of things going on right now that just don't work together. We got the Fed trying to fight inflation, and the administration enacting policies that are helping to exacerbate inflation, shutting off pipelines, energy changes, things like that. We've got cost of goods going up because of a shortage of goods, but we have COVID protocols that are preventing the unloading of ships in an expeditious manner. But we have all these ships off the coast waiting to get in. And it got to the point where I thought I was kind of getting worried that we would suddenly lift the protocols and then all the ships would come in. We'd have this flood of goods, have a big deflationary push where the price of everything falls because everybody's got too many goods. But now look what's happening at China, guys. China is following a zero COVID policy, and they're going to continue doing that for at least a year, they say. What is a zero COVID policy? That means if you get one case, you shut down a neighborhood. If you get one case, you shut down a company. If you get one case, you shut down a port. Omicron is very contagious. As a result, lots of China is shut down right now, which means lots of stuff isn't getting made, lots of stuff isn't getting shipped. So yes, we have a backlog right now off the coast. We're going to clear that backlog. Not because of any miraculous changes that have been made to the supply chain, but because new ships will just stop coming for a while, and then they'll come again. So like I said, how do you time all this? How do you figure this out? I need a smarter person than me to do it for sure. All right. Last call for questions, guys. We've been going for 1 hour and 2 minutes. My voice is starting to give on me, too. This is technically longer than Rush Limbaugh actually talks, or used to talk, I should say. He did 3 hours a day, but if you take out all the commercial breaks, it was only like an hour and a half of total talk time. So I've done that now between the two shows. So I was talking to Roger the other day. I'm like, I don't know how people like Rush and Sean Hannity do it every day for 3 hours. Maybe their microphones are more sensitive, so they don't have to project as hard and they can just talk like this. Maybe they're not deaf in one ear, so they feel like they have to shout to be heard because I can't hear myself. So this sounds like a normal conversational volume to me, whereas people in the same room as me might think I was shouting, or at least speaking very sternly. Yeah, I don't know. The New York doctors and nurses were fired doctors and nurses were fired because they are vaccinated. I think you may have a typo there. Yeah, I think you meant because they were not vaccinated. Yeah, I mean, it just stuff like that doesn't make sense. I mean, they were on the front lines for the whole Wuhan thing, and they didn't die. And so you think that Delta's going to get them, or Omicron's going to get them, or, I don't know. Like I said, reasonable people could have different opinions on this. I was a little disheartened to hear the Supreme Court questions about the 1,000 children who are currently on ventilators in the United States, or a million children or whatever on ventilator, intubated on ventilators in the United States because of Omicron right now. And that's demonstrably not true. And that came from the Supreme Court. So it's kind of like, how did we go from a country that was led by brain trusts to a country that's led by people who don't even know basic facts about things? And it's okay to not know basic facts, as long as you're willing to get educated. But if your job is to make a judgment about a circumstance or a situation. Like if somebody came into me and said, Thor, truckers aren't crossing the borders because of the vaccination thing and we need a solution. What are we going to do? Well, the first thing would be for me to say, I don't really know that much about the trucking industry. Like, I see trucks. There's a lot of trucking companies in the Midwest. Maybe I should call some of them and ask them what they think a good solution would be. Listen to what they have to say, and then maybe develop a solution from that. Think, right? So there's nothing wrong with being uneducated about something. You just have to get educated when you need to be educated. But if you're going to be deciding a court case, such as is the federal vaccine mandate constitutional, you should at least know if the question is, are we in a state of emergency or not right now, you should at least understand what the current circumstances are from the medical hospitalization. I mean, you just can't take that from a news source. You have to have some actual source for that. You can't just listen to Fox News or MSNBC and say, okay, I'm sure that that's true. I mean, you got to actually know, I would think. All right. Well, thank you, Ronald. I appreciate it. You guys, I've been really trying to keep the politics out of the Aftershock a little bit. Some of you, I skipped some of your comments. I didn't read them out loud because they were overtly political. They're there in the record. I'm not deleting them or blocking them or censoring them. There are some people who were reporting to me that they were really enjoying the Aftershocks. You guys typing comments and everything were saying you were really enjoying it. Privately, I was getting emails from longtime customers, people who I know are not crazy nut job people, saying that they can get politics elsewhere. They really don't tune into this show for the politics. And if I could back off on that, it would make it a more enjoyable show. I want this to be an enjoyable show. I really genuinely have questions I don't know what to do financially right now. I guess we just leave the 401k alone because you're not supposed to screw with that, right? And then maybe I reallocate that a little bit, put some into energy, a little less into technology. I don't know. I know you just took a 20% pop, right? I mean, maybe now's the time to go to tech. No, probably not. Because if the Fed actually does surprise everybody and do a 3% interest rate hike, woo, sweet baby Jesus, that's going to be rough. If, on the other hand, none of that comes to pass and the economy starts to turn down to circle the drain here a little bit, and the Fed decides they have to slow down the pace at which they are normalizing, i.e., we need to print more money for longer, we need to put off rate hikes, that would have the opposite effect. So literally, we're waiting to hear what the Fed board says, because you can't fight the Fed. Whatever they say, if they say that they're going to slow normalization, asset prices are going to go up. If they're going to do it the way they say they're going to do it, I thought that was already priced in because they've been talking about it for a while. Then they had a meeting where they're like, oh no, we're serious, heart attack serious, this is going to happen. And then the market's like, ah! It had the Home Alone moment where they slapped their cheeks and screamed and then dove. And it was every market, everywhere. There was no safe haven that I could see. A couple of winners here and there. GameStop's getting into NFTs. Could have hit there. Who'd have thought? All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up for this week. I appreciate you joining us. We'll be back again live next Sunday, so make sure you stay tuned. Please take a moment, if you could, to share the main program, share the Aftershock, like it, follow us. Make sure that you get alerted when we are back on the air with a live show again. Also, it really helps us to spread the word about the program. If your friends and family watch it and listen to it, they learn about it as well. And then we pick up a listener here and a listener there, and then that's how we've always grown our company for 23 years. That's how we've grown this company, is one customer at a time. And so every time that you like it or you follow it or you recommend it to a family member or a friend, it means the world to us, and we really appreciate it. All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.